I'll welcome you all right now. Thank you for coming to Pattern Love Day, February 2025. And I'm pleased to welcome my panelists. We have Kate Golding and Jeanetta Gonzales and Jackie Tahara. And we'll just go through, and if each of you could give a little introduction of who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been in surface pattern design. Um, People know me, I guess. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, and I publish Uppercase magazine. And I kind of stumbled into surface pattern design because the very first issue, like #1, like I had in the design, I had some patterns on the spine and such. And then I just kept doing that with every new issue. And then suddenly I had like an archive of patterns. And then a few years in, I kind of discovered more about surface pattern design as far as making quilt weight fabric, for example. And through the magazine, I did the very first surface pattern design guide like over 10 years ago and got introduced to the people at Wyndham Fabrics, and that resulted in me having my first collection, and now I've had 4 collections with Wyndham Fabrics. So over those years, I've gotten to know the industry a lot more, and surface pattern design has been a huge part of the magazine ever since. And the guide about the industry is published every 2 years. So the 6th edition is on my computer right now, and we'll be heading to print at the beginning of March. And Jeanetta was a past contributor in a previous edition of the Surface Pattern Design Guide, and both Kate and Jackie are going to be featured in the forthcoming guide. So that's my little intro spiel, and I'll pass it on to, how about Kate? I see you next here.
Thanks so much, Janine, and thank you for having us here today. This is really special. So I am Kate. I'm a surface pattern and wallpaper designer. I am originally from England, as you might be able to tell, but I have lived in Canada a really long time. Actually, this year it will be 25 years. And the last year and a half, I've been living in Bonavista, Newfoundland, which we have a crazy blizzard today. I don't know whether you guys can hear it howling out the window. I work primarily in wallpaper, and my wallpaper first launched just over 9 years ago in a hotel project in Prince Edward County. And my first collection of wallpaper was launched to the public later that same year in 2016. I now have actually 90 wallpaper designs spanning 7 collections. I also have a line of woven throw blankets and art prints, and I also collaborate with other companies. My most recent collaboration is a line of luxury bedding with Vancouver-based Willett. So it's been a really fun ride, and I love my path as a surface pattern designer. So I feel lucky to be here.
Thank you, Kate. Jeanetta, let's hear from you next.
Hi, I'm Janetta Gonzales. I was just living in LA for the last 30 years, and we moved just a few months ago. So now I'm on the East Coast. I'm temporarily living in Virginia right now, and getting acclimated to winter, which has been a long time. I'm from the East Coast originally. I'm from Connecticut. So how I got into surface pattern design, it's a really long story, but I basically found out about it in 2003. And I met a woman who was a new agent who was going to the Surtex show, which was the surface design marketplace, basically in New York. And she took my work there. I had no idea what I was doing, and I made a bunch of ugly patterns, and nothing happened. But it kind of got the ball rolling, and I was wondering, like, what is this thing all about? Why is she selling my art? So I went on a mission for, I think it was about 10 years before I actually really jumped into it. So I took classes where I could find them. I learned as much as I could. I met with consultants, all the things. And then back then, all you really could do was trade shows. So I was like, all right, I'm doing this trade show thing. And I met a mentor, and I ended up doing a group trade show booth at Surtex in 2013. And that was my first, I guess, foray into the industry. And then after that, I've just been doing it ever since. in different capacities. I'm also an illustrator too, so I do illustrate for books and publications and for brands and different things like that. I'm an Adobe ambassador. I was formerly a Spoonflower ambassador, so I've done a lot of work with them. And I've taught surface design I used to teach at a local art college in LA. As well as coaching artists and helping them improve their artwork and also just facilitate their career and their growth. So I've been doing this for a really long time. I was a graphic designer for many, many years, and I transitioned, I would say probably the last full time, more like 5 years, really just out of graphic design, maybe 6 now, and really just focusing on the illustration and the surface design. I've worked with Target. I've done a lot of exclusive things with people like Target and Michaels and Brewmate. I also I've worked with Pantone, Adobe, and it's lots of stationery clients and lots of different things I do. Calendar stationery, I would say it's probably a lot of paper. I've done a lot of paper, and also table linens, kitchen towels, and earrings. Actually, these are earrings. This is a fun project. I got to paint on leather. So it's always something new and exciting, and it never gets boring. I really enjoy it.
Thank you so much.
Mhm.
Jackie?
Oh my goodness. Maybe I'm a little bit more scrappy than you guys. So I'm Jackie. I live on Vancouver Island, so I'm on the exact opposite coast from you, Kate, and this is our winter today, so it's looking a little more pleasant. But so I'm I want to say I am a self-taught designer. I did go to art school way back in the day. That I went to university, I had my kids, and I thought I should have probably always been an artist all along. So I kind of got back into it while my kids were small. I was eking out bits of time, getting babysitters for that 1 hour a week, and it just kind of snowballed from there. And then I found online courses, and they basically, started me off. And then as my kids got older, I just started eking out more and more time. Both kids are now out of the house, so I do this basically full time now. So I am a surface pattern designer and have several print on demand shops. One of them was Spoonflower. I license my designs now, so I've licensed for apparel, tech accessories, kitchen products, kids wear. I've worked with WGSN on some of their trend books over the last few years, actually, for the last few seasons. Yeah, so I just, and then now I'm getting some freelance work as well. So happily, mostly they come to me now. So, and I've kind of figured out a kind of a nice working pace for myself. And then work on my own collections and that, that if I worked 24/7, I wouldn't get everything done that I want to get done. So there's always huge lists all over my desk of things I need to get done. So I also like to have time to experiment, color and pattern. I just need time to be able to work on my own stuff too. So that's that's a little bit about me. And
Sure.
yeah, so
Well, let's use that as a jumping off point for our conversation. We'll be just talking about some of the aspects of surface and pattern design that's unique to this industry. And so one of them is that, as you alluded, it's so open-ended, right? So how do you spend your time? How do you decide what to work on when the day begins? Where do you start? How do you come up with ideas for collections that maybe they don't have a home yet, right? Like part of it is trying to get a licensing deal in the future. So how do you create work now in anticipation of those sorts of business relationships? I think that's one of the kind of the creatively complex aspects of being a surface pattern designer is like, how do you create work that does not have a home yet? So that's a big question, but so what do you suggest, or how do you create these parameters for yourself so you know what to work on each day.
I think I've spoken on panels before, and the first thing I always say is you just have to cut out all the noise, because there's so much stuff out there that you really need to focus. And I think that's always the first step to start doing your own work, is to focus. And when you come up with an idea and you want to run with it, do that, and then just put blinders on and just work on your own project. And it's a really hard thing to do, and then you start second guessing yourself, and then you think, oh, maybe that trend, I should be doing that, or that color palette, but I think you just, if you get the idea, then you just have to shut everything else off and run with it. And to hell with everything else that's out there. That's kind of what I do.
I think I would agree with you, Jackie. I think one of the biggest things, so whether it's what type of work you want to create, what the end goal is for your designs, whether it's how you create your designs, the style that you have or the medium that you use, or whether it's where you find your inspiration, all of those things are completely open-ended. And it is quite funny doing what we do, because I don't know whether any of the rest of you experience this, but all the time people are saying, you should do this, you should do that. And of course, a lot of these things are really, really great and wonderful, but we simply can't do it all, even if we wanted to. And I agree with Jackie, you have to find your own niche, the things that speak to you, finding your own style, and your own personal inspiration, and then working on the types of projects that speak to you. I think also thinking about the type of lifestyle that you want to have. There's many things that could be really great for your work, but they may lead you down a path that is simply not one that you want to go down. We've all selected this career for reasons, primarily probably because of the creative aspect of it, but also the lifestyle it gives us. And certain choices would lead you down a different path that wouldn't necessarily be appealing. So I would agree with Jackie on all aspects. You have to carve out what works best for you and then silence all the other noise, because otherwise it just gets completely overwhelming. And you could find yourself doing things that you didn't want to do and creating work that isn't authentically yours.
And just to follow on that, even you even have to say no. And I know that if you're just starting out, that's super hard to do. But sometimes you'll get requests that don't, and then it becomes a struggle to finish that project, because it's just, it's just becomes something you don't want to do. It's not fulfilling, or it's just not going in the direction that you want to go in. So you do have to be quite choosy. And I know that if you're just starting out, you're thinking, well, I'll just, new jobs aren't coming in, but you do have to, even like, say you're a spoonflower designer and you think, oh, I have to enter every spoonflower challenge every 2 weeks. You don't really, you should just pick the ones that really speak to you, because that really is what will motivate you. It's a little disheartening to have to do things that don't really speak to you.
I agree. I agree with everything you're saying. And I think it depends on where you're at, right? And are you new to this, or is this something you've been on this journey for a little bit of time? And I think no matter where you are, you're always going to have to hone in, just like, just the distractions are there. They're always going to be there no matter what, right? So, and when you're starting out, and I see this a lot with coaching people, coaching artists, is that everything's a shiny object. Everything's like, I want to do this. I want to start here. I want to join this contest. I want to do this, I'm going to do this spoonflower thing. I want to, whatever it is, right? They want to be everywhere. And I think it's great. And you have so much enthusiasm for it and passion for it. And it's awesome. But it's also, if you notice that it's all distraction from you actually focusing on getting a licensing deal and doing the things that you really want to do because you're too busy doing all the other things, then I think it's really time to check in and be like, okay, what are my goals? How do I get clarity right now? Like, literally, what are your goals right now? Do you want to get the licensing deal, or do you want to enter all the contests? So, like Jackie was saying, you can't do all the things. So what do you have time for? And what is really on your priority list? And maybe just really narrow it down to one or two things in the moment, because you really cannot be everywhere. If you have time to do the contest, go for it. Absolutely. But and you always, I know for me, when I do like just passion projects or contests or just fun classes and things, the work that comes out of there is so great because it's more authentic to me. I took the time to do it. I worked on things that I really enjoyed drawing and bringing to life. So it is important to do those things. But also, yeah, take that work that you've started and develop it and start pitching and getting it out there too. So don't just consume or just do all the things and then you realize, oh, I haven't done anything towards my career. Okay, then that's good. I just want you all to check in at that point. Be like, okay, this is your time to like pivot and focus on getting that deal or whatever it is that you want to do.
I
That being
agree.
said,
I think,
oh, sorry.
oh, I was gonna say, like, from my perspective, I see a lot of people who get caught in the I should. And like, oh, I should do this. I should do that. I should have an Instagram. I should have this. I should have that. And but why and who is telling you these things, right? Like no one says you should or you need to have those things. You can determine where you're spending your time. So I think in the past I've had like one-on-one portfolio reviews with dozens and dozens of artists at this stage. And I think a lot of people get caught up in that I should. And if you're doing everything because you think you should do it, you're not really doing it for you and for your career and for where you want to go. Like, so I think you have to make conscious decisions about it. So whether that's, like, I do think you having, a landing page, whether that's your Instagram or a website, you need to have a place where someone can come find you and contact you. If you want to like sell your work, that's sort of a basic thing. But as far as how often you have to be on Instagram and that you have to have a spoonflower shop or that you have to have all these things, like I don't think you necessarily need to do all of those things. And it's more about, as Jackie said, about finding a focus and staying true to that while you're building your career.
Could I just say something that might sound a little contrary to that though too?
Sure.
I think there's a lot to be said for trial and error. So, I mean, when I look back on kind of the last, several years that I've been doing this, I've tried things and they didn't work, so I left them. I tried something new and it didn't work and I left them. And the only way you can understand if that's not going to work or it will work for you is to try it. So for example, I did have a Shopify shop. I opened one, I figured out how to set it up. Figured out the promoing of it, with newsletters and advertise it, had it on my Instagram so that you could shop from Instagram, all of that. And ultimately, I decided having my own online shop was not for me. There was too much customer support that I just didn't have time for. But I would never know that, and it would always be in the back of my mind, should I be doing that or should I not? So unless you try it, you'll never know. And it can take 2 years. I had it for 2 years. It could take 2 years to figure out that maybe it's just not working. I had an Etsy shop, and that way at the beginning, I had an Etsy shop. And I was making sales there. Again, I had to go through the process to figure out that I would prefer to spend my time elsewhere. So, and it's the same with social media. Some social media, Instagram works for a lot of people. Facebook is better, now Blue Sky. So it's definitely all a process, and it's a trial and error. So, that might seem to be the opposite of focus, but you do need to, you know, figure out what works for you and not, and give yourself enough time to figure out whether that new path is going to work for you or if you like it.
Mhm. Related to social media there, LaDonna is asking, have any of you been told by a potential customer or company brand that they want you to have a large social media following? Has that ever been a prerequisite or a requirement for getting a job? Yeah, Kate?
Yes, from a negative stance, I was up for a really big project, one that potentially could have, I mean, who knows, could have been a bit career changing for me. It was really exciting, and supposedly it was between me and another person. And I was told that I didn't get it. And then I was told in a phone call afterwards that I didn't get it because they decided to work with a man and that he had a bigger Instagram following. But just so I know, my designs were better than the other person.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that's something that did stick with me. I try not to let it rule me. I kind of enjoy Instagram still, though of course all of us struggle with it, especially in times that we're living in right now. I do it because I love it and I find connection there. But yeah, that was a bit of a painful moment.
Well, that's
Wow.
just terrible. Who would want to work with them anyway if that's how they
Exactly.
make their choices? Like you're better off not working with them. And I love your Instagram, Kate. I love being able to vicariously go to Newfoundland and with you and your husband's beautiful photography. So I enjoy your Instagram quite a bit. Yeah, but I think we all are currently having that love-hate thing with social media. Because we've all been on it for a long time at this point, I would think. And I feel like the promises that social media made to us have been broken by social media itself, like the people in charge of it and the decisions made by the corporate guys in charge and such. And so I don't know if Instagram, for example, will be as big of a platform as it has been. What do you think?
Hard to know. It's really hard to know. It
Yeah.
keeps changing constantly. So I don't know. I think I mean, it's important to put yourself out there and just keep doing that, you know, regardless of what's going on. If, you know, whatever platform that is that you prefer or that, you know, that works for you. But yeah, I mean, so I haven't been posting a lot lately. It just haven't been, you know, and then because it becomes kind of a chore after a while, you know, making reels and making videos, and it can take a lot of time. So unless you have that kind of built into what you do, then I know for me, I don't really. So I don't really have it planned out, or you know how I'm gonna post all the time. So you know, I just like, okay, I need a break right now. I need to focus on other things. And then I post when you know, I have time, but or I have something I want to say or share or whatever. But yeah, it can be a lot. It can be a lot, and I just, but definitely don't let it deter you, especially if you know you don't really need a big audience to get deals. You don't. I think that's something that a lot of, I mean, you might, it's easy to believe that because you see artists that have big accounts and they're getting great deals, right? So you kind of do the math on that, but it's not really true. It's not always the case. I mean, it depends on if you want to go for a really big fish. Sometimes some of them I know do require that. And it's kind of unfortunate that that's how it is these days, you know. But I would say the majority of them, no, not at all. But it does happen. There are companies that do prefer that. And sometimes it's also because they're whitelisting, and that means they will piggyback on your audience. So if you have, you know, a lot of numbers, then that means your audience is, they're gonna market to your audience. They're going to send ads to your audience. So if you have a lot of numbers, and that means it's gonna convert in their eyes. So so quite often people with large numbers or large audiences do get the big companies to work with them, and that's really just a numbers thing, just because they know the money's there. But it's not, but don't let that deter you. I mean, that's a different league and a different thing. So yeah, just keep going. Just keep going. And I've worked with big brands and I don't have huge numbers. So it's plenty of work for everyone.
In the chat, Alexandra says that she has her first licensing deal coming from Instagram and she has a micro account. So congratulations to Alexandra. And Katrina, in the questions and answers, she's asking, or she says, I feel like social media versus email marketing is a catch-22. Many professionals I follow say focus on email marketing, but at the same time, social media is the best only way I can get new eyes on my work. What do you recommend focusing on if you only have capacity for one? So email marketing or social media.
Email marketing to sell your work, because email marketing works great if you're selling one-to-one. Are you marketing to customers? Are you marketing to companies? I think I'd have to get a little more clarity on that. Email marketing is great because you build your own audience, you control it, right? So this is the people that you market your work to, you market your I have these new deals, these new products in the world, like this is your people, like your VIPs, right? So you want to keep them close and you want to absolutely market to them. But if you have your own shop, that's the best way to go. Like, build your email list, absolutely 100%. If you have products to sell, these are going to be your ideal customers, your loyal customers. But again, just keep marketing yourself on social media. I know for me, it's worked wonders. You have to put yourself out there, use LinkedIn too. Don't forget about LinkedIn, because that's where, the art directors are. So you want to definitely put yourself in front of them, as well as Instagram or whatever other platforms you're using right now. But yeah, email marketing is important, I think, especially if you want to sell and you want to let people know that your work is out in the world. But and also you control that audience, not like your Instagram account. If Instagram goes away, then that's it, right? You don't have access to people anymore. So, but you will have your email list.
I feel like if you're going after licensing, if you're not selling product through your own shop, email marketing is kind of like this next step, because how do you get subscribers? Like, how are you attracting people to subscribe to your newsletter? And if you don't have a shop where people, want to hear about your upcoming sales, then I think, social media is kind of the place where you're trying to get people to notice you and sign up for your newsletter or reach out that way. So I think you really have to start with social media, that's for sure, and figure out a reason that people will want to sign up for your email, because no one's going to sign up for your newsletter unless they have a reason to do it. Whether that's they really love your designs or they're signing up because they want inspiration from you, other than selling product, for sure.
Yeah, I think you really have to know who your audience is and why you're putting your work out there. Because you could be putting your work out there just because you want feedback from other artists, or you could be putting your work there because you want to be noticed by another company or something. And so the different audiences will be looking for different things.
I mean, and I have a newsletter, which I started when I had my own shop, but I've kept it going because I just really like the writing process, and it gives me a bit of a community and I get feedback that way as well. So, and I know that I've got, people who have licensed from me before signed up to my newsletter. I know a lot of fellow designers have signed up for my newsletter. So whenever I write a newsletter, I'm kind of trying to do a little bit for people who might want to license from me or hire me for a project, or also give information that other designers might want as well. So I just kind of do my newsletters for myself as well, just because I find them kind of fun. They take me a long time to write and to put it all together, but that's sometimes I'll just take like a day and decide this is my newsletter writing day. And but I like to write, so
Well, and that's Jackie, that's why I commissioned you to do something for the next issue, because I knew you have the ability to write about surface pattern design, because I've been getting your newsletter for years, right? So I know that you have those talents available, right? So that, it works in other ways. Yeah. Let me see, there's some Q and A's here. Well, you guys do the A's, I'll do the Q part. Let's see. Okay, both questions here are related to developing collections. So could you share your journey or design steps while creating a collection, mini or large collection or both? How do you keep a company or product in mind? And how many designs would you consider enough for a collection when you're looking to get started? Kate, you want to start?
Sure. This is an interesting question because I think I have gone about this a little bit differently than some other pattern designers. My collections are, as I'm primarily a wallpaper designer, I kind of come at my collections from a storytelling standpoint, and I develop a series of ideas surrounding a theme, and then I create patterns on that theme and develop a collection that way. Really, all of my patterns are what would be classed as a hero design, or a lot of them are, maybe not all of them, which means that they're big, bold patterns. And having that many patterns in a collection that are all big hero designs wouldn't necessarily translate to some other products. If I was looking to create maybe some smaller products that would require more blender prints or things like that. For me, this is something I've actually been giving a lot of thought, because a lot of my collections, so I have 7 collections and I'm working on an 8th right now. So much energy and time gets poured into them. And I am aware that I'm kind of creating these series of hero designs. And I've started to think, would I want to shift that up a bit and maybe just release smaller amounts of designs more often? But for me, there's something really authentic about that storytelling part of it. And I kind of love it. So I'm reluctant to change that because it feels so much a part of what I do and how I produce my work. But it is something, we all we have our ways of going about things, but we also want to evolve and adapt to different times, how we want to work, how we want to release our work into the world, and the types of products we want to work on. So for me, it's a lot of work goes into one big collection, one big launch, and it all kind of goes out at one time, and then everyone has to wait quite a while for the next thing to come out. So it's interesting, something to think about and work out what's best for you.
When you put all that time into one collection, do you already know that someone is going to license that, or is it for a particular client, or you're just doing it and then you send it out?
Well, my current situation is I have an ongoing collaboration with a Canadian-based wallpaper firm, and my collections get launched through them in the form of wallpaper. So yes, I know what my goal is, and I'm kind of working towards that. But I would maybe like to switch that up a bit and do some different things too. So that gives me an opportunity to maybe change it up a bit, or do I want to stick with those large collections and maybe add some different types of patterns in the mix that then could be adapted to different products? That's for me to work out moving forward. But yes, the collections are released through a Canadian wallpaper designer based in Montreal.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the storytelling idea is true for other collections, like quilting fabrics. I was in conversation with a fabric company once, or again, and they told me, they've suggested that they like stories. So for a collection, so they want to have a story. Route 66 or something, some kind of a hook to hang the patterns on. And that seems to be true for a lot of the quilting collections that I've come across, for sure. So that's a good approach, I think, to create a story or to write the story in your patterns, for sure.
Yeah, having the story aspect is useful for the, let's say, quilt fabric company, for marketing that later on, right? If you have a story to tell, it's so much easier than here's some new pretty stuff, right? Like if it's the story specifically about how you did this and it became this along the way, and it's, there's more there. There's more content, there's more of a human story. So I think that's definitely part of creating a collection. It's a collection of an experience or a thought or something like that. I have noticed that a lot of new designers who are just starting out, they're very hung up on how many of this do I need? How many of these do I need? Should I have 6? Should I have 7? What if I have 12? Is it too, like, if you get stuck on like numerics, it's not, you're thinking about the wrong thing. It should be more like the storytelling. Do you have enough here that feels like it's a collection? Like a collection can't be just one thing. It can't just be 2 things. That's just a pair. So you need to have like a few things that are part of a collection. And I think part of that is knowing what your story is, and you'll know how many things you need to tell that complete story.
Well, and it's also useful to do the research. So if there's a particular fabric company that you love, say Cloud9 or any of these fabric companies that you would love to get a collection with, look on their website and look at everything is by collection. So check out their collection, see how many hero prints they have, secondary blenders, and then that can give you a bit of a a ballpark of what they want in their collections.
I think that's
And I think,
awesome.
yeah, go
Yeah.
ahead,
Oh, I'm
Janetta.
sorry. I was just going to say that for collections, there's several ways to approach it. So there's not really a one size fits all approach for collections. And it depends on your artwork, how you like to work, and what your goals are with your art, right? So are you making one big ginormous collection that you're going to pitch to lots of different product categories, or are you making one with a company in mind, or even just one category or 2 categories in mind? So maybe it works for stationery and gifts, maybe it works for, I don't know, apparel, whatever it is, or the company that you have in mind. I often work with a company in mind and or the category in mind. So I know I'm designing it properly, I'm not going to make it too small. I'm not going to make the dimensions awkward or whatever that is. So if it's going on wallpaper, like Kate, I'm sure you have to make it a certain size, right? So if you started too small, you're not going to be able to size that up to fit on the wallpaper. So there are some things that I know for me, I think consider before I even start working. Where would this be great for? I know I've seen artists have come to me and they're like, oh, I have this collection. And then I said, well, what is it for? And they're like, oh, it could be for this, or it could be for that, or it could be for that. And it's like, oh, no, we're designers. So we are designing for a product, and we're designing for a client or a company, right? So we're not just making art to make art. I think that's when that becomes more fine art, right? You're making art for you. So now we're designing art for a product. So what is that goal? What do you want? Do you want the stationery line? Do you want the greeting card line? Do you or line, or do you want 1 or 2 cards, right? So think about that. Like start breaking that down, and then you can the story can kind of unfold. It's like, okay, I see this story and I see this thing, this art theme or whatever you're coming up with, working really great for a line of cards, working really great for a journal, a set of 3 journals, or maybe it goes on, whatever it is, right? Just think that through first and then vision that. I think having that vision, it helps you get clarity and get that goal and like, okay, this is where I want it. And then you can pitch it to these companies. So you just don't have.
Oh, snowstorm. We'll continue. Hopefully Janetta can log back in. So I think one thing, and again, that I noticed these things because I'm looking at people's portfolios, right? Like through the magazine when I'm curating content.
Products with this company.
Oh,
So,
sorry, Janetta, your internet conked out there for a few seconds, so
Mhm.
oh, you're kidding. Oh, it
You're,
tells
you're
it's
good.
unstable.
You're good now.
All right, I'll just rewind. I'm just saying, think about the company that you want to work for under the product category, and that gives you a goal to work towards. So if you want a greeting card line, or like set of greeting cards, or a box card of cards, or maybe it's the set of 3 journals, or whatever that looks like for you, then you know what you're going to make the art and what it looks like, right? So you can target that, make it, and then pitch it right after. So you don't just have all this work sitting there and you're like, oh, it could be for this or it could be for that. It's like, no, I'm designing for this product, for this company. And I'm going to, right when I'm done, I know how many they need because I've researched them. I know I'm a great fit for them. And they're going to love these 3 designs to go on this set of 3, whatever, or this set of 5. So you kind of have the parameters for what you're doing because you're already looking at the company or the product category.
Yeah, and I think it's also useful to remember that you're providing a service to like a company, right? They need something to go on, you know, their wallpaper, or they need something to go on the fabric. They need something to go on the notebook. So it's not just you creating something on your own. You are providing a service to those ideal customers or those ideal companies you want to work with. You're solving a problem that they have, which is they want to produce more things, but they need new art. So you can think of it that way, where it's not only an expression of yourself, you're also providing a service to these other companies. Okay, I was gonna go to another question that was related here. A bit about style, which we've touched on a little bit. So Carla says, I'm a graphic designer with a minimalistic, bold, and abstract style. Some people say my work feels too modern. Should I try incorporating more trends into my designs or stick with my geometric style? What do we think?
It's hard because we can't see it.
Can't see it,
I know
but
for me, if I see it, I can tell you right away, like do this, do this, do that. So I'm starting to feel, is it more mid-century modern? Is that kind of, or is that abstract? It's hard to know. It's hard to know. Who's telling you this too?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, are clients telling you, potential clients telling you this, or are other artists telling you this? If you're hearing it from clients or potential clients, okay, definitely take that. Okay, mid-century modern. Yes, a potential client was telling you, okay, they're not your client. That's fine. Find somebody else that you're a good fit for. There's somebody who's fit for everyone. I don't like it when people feel like they have to mold their artwork to fit a client's needs all the time, or just to get a deal or get that saddens me, right? Like you want to do what's authentic to you and you want to do what you love. So yeah, sometimes you have to kind of adapt the style to fit yours, but I mean the brief or whatever they're asking to fit your style. But yeah, don't compromise too much. They just are not might be a good fit for you. Again, we haven't seen your art, so it's a little hard to say. It's probably beautiful and perfect. So just keep going, but don't feel like you need to stretch for a client if they're saying you're too modern. Find someone else that works for you.
And maybe that gets back to the noise, everyone telling you what you should do. And then you start losing your confidence in just your own vision. And, you know, if you look, you know, at your favorite designers, or, you know, things that come up in your feed and that stops that scroll, maybe it's because they're different. So keep that in mind. Just try and do your thing.
I agree with that too, Jackie.
Yeah.
I think that there is a big question out there, is there's so much artwork, where am I going to fit into it? And you're going to fit into it because it's your voice. And I also agree with what Jeanetta said. That doesn't mean to say that none of us have ever had to evolve to a client brief or make an adaptation or something like that. Of course, everybody has, but changing your style to fit with what one person is telling you. And there are people out there, and there are very successful artists out there that work to trends. They specifically, that's their goal. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. But I think if you're building an authentic style, you're building a brand of your own identity, you have to stay on course with that, because otherwise you really lose everything. You know, where's your meaning in your daily work? Where is your audience going to find meaning in it if you've just adapted to become something that isn't really you?
Yeah, and sometimes I'll even, you know, when I'm just doing my own patterns, not for anyone specific in mind, I will choose the colors that are completely, I know that, you know, that's not the muted whatever, or the, I'll just do it because I want to do it. And that's what I do. And, you know, often that those things get, you know, the most notice in the end. So
This,
I'm a color person though. So
yeah, right. So I think that's part of identifying what our own style is, and that comes through time, certainly. Like how you discover your own style, the only way you can do that is by making things and doing
trial and
lots of
error.
things. Exactly,
Yeah.
right? And you discover what resonates with you, and then you start to discover what resonates with potential clients and such, and then your style, your style evolves, and then your style keeps evolving. Like, oh, I found my style, but then you keep changing and your style's going to keep changing. So it's always a work in progress. Um, so let's segue into one of the other topics I wanted to talk about, was creative confidence. How do you become confident in your work? Especially, let's say you're just starting out. How do you have the confidence to like put yourself out there? Like, what if, you know, this is an industry where you can be actively rejected, like you can say, no, you're not right for the job, or there could be just crickets. So you send your portfolio out and you don't hear back from anyone. Like, how do you,
Which happens all the time.
all the time? Yeah. So how do you feel confident enough to keep going? How do you get that confidence?
If you like it, it's good enough.
Yeah, this is always the dilemma, right? Like, how do you start anything that you've never done before or that scares you? Um, and I think it's just doing it scared. There's really no other way to do it. You have to just take the leap and do it and start putting your artwork out there on social media, start pitching, making those collections or whatever your artwork is, and sending it out, and getting those no's, and getting the bruised knees and getting back up, and just keep going. And yeah, that's easier said than done, absolutely. But once you start getting those wins are going to carry you. Whoo, they're just going to you're going to like start racking up the wins. You're like, I feel in this. I'm getting more confidence. I know that my work, is being accepted with XYZ companies, and I'm getting feedback. But you gotta get yourself out there so you can start getting the feedback, and you can start eventually getting the deals. And if you're not sure, like, if you're doing it right or not, I mean, there's coaches out here that can help you. There's people who can help guide you, mentors, whether you're taking a class, maybe the person who's teaching the class can help you, other people in the industry, friends. Like, I would also lean on a community, because I think communities and like yours are just perfect. So you can get feedback, you can get assistance, you can get resources, to keep going, because you can't really do it alone if you don't have all the information, and you need to find it somewhere, right? And also having friends and colleagues and mentors that can help you. I know I wouldn't be where I am without mentors. So, it's, and friends who, I can ask questions to and get help from. And, oh, who do you use for this? And how should I do that? We all have questions, we all need help. And you're also going to have a lot of roadblocks, lots of no's, lots of, I don't know how to do this, I don't know what I'm doing. There's all of these things that never stops. Let me tell you, it never stops. As long as you're pursuing something new and different, or growing, it never stops. So you just have to, so that's that little bit of wind in your sail that you have that will keep you going and moving over that speed bump and into the next thing and into the next thing. So it grows as you grow, and you have to acknowledge it. It's like, okay, I got to win. All right, it could be tiny, but I'm taking that win, and let's move on to the next thing and just build on that, because yeah, there it's not always, you're gonna have rejection. It's just part of the gig, really. And also you're gonna like I said, you're gonna be in uncharted territory. So so just, I kind of lean into it more than resist it. And as long as you have your why, like I'm here because I really want this to happen. I really want this goal, or to, I see my life like this, I see my career like this. Keep that why in mind while you're going through the journey, because that's what's going to help keep you on course.
Well, and when we talk about creative confidence, the business side of things is kind of a whole is one thing, but I think you build confidence in your artwork by just doing it constantly, having a practice. Whether or not it gets licensed or people buy it or like it or whatever, if you like it, that's a step toward your own creative confidence. So, and I think if you are a designer, I mean, when I'm designing something, when it's done, I kind of know it, and when it's not done, I keep fiddling with it. So I think if you get to the point where you're designing a new pattern, say, and you get to the point where you think it's done, in your gut, then it is. That's, and the more that happens, and then you'll become better, you'll get a better understanding of what it is about the pattern or the designing that can tell you that it's done, so when you get to that point, I think, you must be creatively confident, because you know that this is it.
I would agree.
It comes from you, right? It's not, doesn't come from people telling you, in my opinion. I mean, yes, you can take advice and all of that, but it needs to come from you. And, as you're designing, just knowing that, yeah, this is the design, this is how I want it.
I would agree. I think that you have to create work that's authentically yours. And then especially at the very beginning, when you first put your work out there, it takes huge courage, determination, and just strength to share it with the world, because it's really daunting when you haven't done that before. No one knows who you are. You have this vision, this dream of this thing that you want to create, and you can see it, but people have never seen that side of you before. It's terrifying. And that surely just is, but you just have to go for it. You have to go for it and put it out there.
And
I
it gets easier. It gets easier.
Pardon?
And it gets easier.
It does get easier, and it's fun too, because then you realize how liberating that is, and then people start to respond to your artwork, and it's truly exhilarating. It's fun and wild. Like, it's crazy. You take your time to create these pieces and you share it with the world, and then people respond to it. And I remember when I first started my business, I basically just launched a website with a bunch of patterns on it, with the intention that this would become wallpaper. But at that point, I was still working out how to make the wallpaper. That didn't exist yet. I was making napkins, and I just threw it out there. And then this wallpaper launched at the hotel. It wasn't for sale yet. And there was 4 designs that launched in the hotel. One of them had water towers on it. The other one was this crazy bold pattern with turkey vultures. And those designs became a part of my first collection and have been a huge success for me. And at this opening of the season of the hotel, when all these people came and I was there and I saw my own wallpaper on the wall and other people saw it and people responded to it, it was truly the most liberating experience. So I think that there's something really amazing about just putting yourself out there and going for it. Is pretty special.
Yeah, and you use the adrenaline of like pressing send. Like if you're gonna send your portfolio somewhere, like that is the accomplishment right there. Not whether who knows what happens in the inbox on the other end of the thing, right? You don't know what's going on, but you know that you put in your effort, you created something and it's ready to share and you shared it. And that is the success right there. So when you're starting out, like every time you send your work out there, that is a success because you're putting yourself out into the world, and the outcome of what happens after that is like a little bit out of your control. But if you put in the effort and you continue to send your work out there, then eventually, the right fish will go on the end of your hook, and you'll be able to start, a relationship with a potential licensor or something like that. But I think just concentrate on the actual making and creating, and that in itself is a huge accomplishment, because a lot of people don't get that far, right?
And if you make a pattern that you just love, that you yourself love, that's your first win.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're almost at the top of the hour here, so let's see if we can answer some of these remaining questions, and then we'll have to say goodbye. But Tanya is asking, do you all represent yourselves, or are you represented by an agent? And she wants to know which agents. And then there's a question about, can you market yourself as someone who wants to license art? So I guess kind of related. How do you promote yourselves, I guess, and do you have someone else in charge of your promotions?
I
I
will.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Janetta. I was just going to say, I don't have an agent. I marketed myself from the beginning. I tackled it from my own standpoint and really went at it organically, building over time. Obviously, there was wins along the way. I learned how to pitch to publications. I learned how to pitch to various different people, but it took time. I have done everything organically. No agent, no PR, nothing. Just chipping away with some grit.
In contrast to that, I've had about 5 agents over the years, and ultimately have decided it's not for me at this point. I mean, getting an agent is not the end all and be all, because some agents, you're one of many. Some agents don't have the right kind of work or clients that you want. Some agents aren't super transparent. So again, it's like a trial and error process. So how do you market yourself? So there are websites, like Illustrators for Hire, Creative Howl. They're all places you can put yourself on there, and they'll often have artist pages, and then people can come there and find you there. There's all kinds of places. Pattern.com is a brand new one, so I can't recommend them or not. But I put myself on there as well. You can, of course, you have your own website, you do the social media. Yeah, so just agents can work really great for some people, and I know other fellow designers who love their agent, but for me, it's often adds to my workload. They want art of a certain topic for that certain time of year, and maybe I don't want to do that at that time. So I just like more personal freedom, I guess. But yeah, I mean, agents can work for some people, but it's just know that if you get an agent, there's still a lot of work
Yeah,
involved.
they don't take the work away. Like, maybe if you're afraid of talking about the deals and the nitty gritty of a contract or something, I think that seems to be why people want an agent sometimes. But if
Mhm.
you're afraid of the actual numbers and business aspect of your own career, then that's a problem. And you need to look at it before you get an agent, because you need to stand up for yourself and be completely aware of how you're earning your income, and just kind of ignoring it and then hoping an agent's going to take care of your entire business. Not gonna happen. I've seen lots of times when that's fallen apart for people. So yeah, you can't just
Yeah,
outsource your all aspects of your business somewhere else. Okay,
I
I'm
agree.
cognizant of the time here, but in the chat I put Kate is involved with a creative source collective. If you want to do a quick description of what that is, we'll be profiling that in the next Uppercase magazine. But I think that's a unique way of promoting your work with others who are also surface pattern designers.
Thank you so much, Janine. Yes, I'm a part of Creative Source Collective, one of the founding members. Creative Source was founded by Faye Bell, and we are a group of designers who have joined forces to promote and share each other's work. The website that Janine has so lovingly put in the chat, you can connect on there and see basically all of the designs of members of the collective. When you sign up for our newsletter, any new releases by any of the brands and designers in the collective are sent out. So you know that you'll be seeing the latest work of everyone in that collective. And it's basically just a way of us working together to support one another, to share resources, and to help promote each other's work. So, for example, there may be a client I have that is a really fan of my work, but my work might not be the right fit for that project. And it gives me a great opportunity to recommend the work of somebody else in the collective. And we really work as a team. It's a pretty special and unique experience. And I think it's just that reminder that we're better working together than we're not each other's competition. We all have our own unique voice. And that's what makes it a really interesting world to navigate. And there's room for everyone. We can lift each other up as we go.
And is it open to anyone to just go to that website and
Anybody can go to that site and join the newsletter. You don't have to pay. We do get a lot of inquiries about new designers that would like to join the collective, and we're going to be managing that over time because obviously we can't just add everyone all at once. But I think over the coming months and year, we will be looking to add some new members to that collective. So certainly reach out if you're a designer and you're interested in joining our collective. But no, you don't have to. It's not paid. No one has to pay. You just have to sign up and check in.
That's great. I'm going to put, I put that link in there, but put it in again. And the Pattern Love Day page on my website will have a replay of this, and any links that we've shared will be shared there as well. And Joy has one last question. If there's one thing you would do different starting out, what would that one thing be? That's like a hard question to answer because you have to think way back. Like, what would you do differently? Or just what do you think was a secret to your success? Like looking at it now, what are you glad that you did? It doesn't always have to be a mistake, right? Go ahead, Kate. You seem to have something.
Yeah.
No, you always think when you're starting out that everybody else has all the answers. They have the answers on how to make the perfect pattern, how to make the perfect pitch, who to connect with. There's always, when you're starting something new, you feel like there's some golden ticket that to all the different questions you have and you just want to know. Sometimes, I don't know about you, Jeanetta and Jackie, I get people reach out to me, but how does this work and how does that work? The reality is that there is no golden answer. It's all unique to you. You just have to carve it out yourself. Sure, there's ways that you can fine tune your business and better it, but there is no golden ticket to the end goal. You have to carve out the path that's right for you. And I think ultimately that's probably what we've all done. But I think if someone could have said that to me at the beginning, I would have felt a sense of relief of, okay, I'm not missing out on something that everybody else knows. We just have to work it out.
Yeah, there's no secret formula. Nope.
If you ask me, I've had actually a few careers over the years, and this is kind of where I've ended up. If I would have done anything differently, I might have skipped right to this one instead of doing these other things that I did before. But that is hindsight, I know. So I did go to art school way back in the day, but between then and now, I did do several different things. So I might have just gone with what I'm doing now if I had known back then.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that. I wish I had started a little sooner. I had known about it for so long and I was not trusting myself. I was really holding myself back lots and lots and lots of times. And I think if I had, really just listened to my instinct and trust myself, I would have taken bigger leaps sooner. but I think everything kind of happens for a reason and when it does, and now that lessons learned, right? So I think maybe, maybe this is how it was supposed to be. But I can definitely look back and see the times that I talked myself out of things and didn't feel confident enough, like we were saying before, and just to make things happen. And honestly, I had everything I needed. I had everything I needed. So I just needed to make the scary leap, and I didn't do it. But it's all good. It's all good.
Well, thank you so much, everyone, for your insight and spending the time with us today. Really appreciate it. And I think the audience enjoyed it as well. We're very fortunate to have you here today. Thank you so much. And I wish you well, and I hope to see you again soon. And thank you for all your contributions to Uppercase in the past and the future. I really appreciate it. And we're all inspired by you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Janine.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Okay,
Bye.
bye.